City Matters.
Hello, and welcome to Raised by Survivors. I'm your host, Bernie Furshpan, here at HMTV at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center of Nassau County. I usually have some incredible stories here on this particular podcast series, Raised by Survivors, but today I have a very extra special guest, a dear friend of mine that I've known for, let's say, 60 years. I think that's enough time to get you on a podcast. What do you think? That's my threshold. You know me for 60 years?
We go back all the way from junior high, high school, and then we met again in chiropractic school.
Dr. Leslie Dreifus. Somehow we managed to cross paths so many times, and here we are again.
Yeah, that current has taken us together.
Yes.
Parallel currents.
Yeah. We grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I was bar mitzvahed in Marine Park Jewish Center. Where were you bar mitzvahed?
I was bar mitzvahed in Madison Jewish Center.
Madison, yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to Marine Park Junior High School together. We probably were in the same circles of friends.
Oh, yes.
And then we went to Madison High School. You were on the track team. I was on the swimming team. We both parted ways. You went to Brooklyn College. I went to Stony Brook University. I ended up over here in Long Island. But then I went to the chiropractic college. And who do I bump into at the chiropractic college in Old Westbury? Leslie Dreifus.
Small world.
Small world.
Yeah.
And here we are again, back in Glen Cove, just miles away from where the school was. Right. I lived here for about a year because the school was there, you know? So what was your life like growing up with survivors, Holocaust survivors in Brooklyn? Were their friends all survivors, would you say?
Well, my parents came over right before the war. My father came over in 1937. He was 14 years old. He had to stop going to school because the Nazis wouldn't allow him. He grew up in a little town called Pirmasens in the Alsace region of Germany, right near the French border. And luckily, they were able to get out in 1937. They came to Washington Heights with the rest of the German Jews. He was 16 years old when he left Germany. My mother, kind of parallel, she left Germany in 1939, right after Kristallnacht.
Right.
So they survived Kristallnacht. They already sold their house to Gentiles. They took my grandfather during Kristallnacht. They took him to Buchenwald concentration camp. And in the middle of the night, my grandmother with my aunt and my mom, who were their little girls, my mom was 11 years old. They went to Frankfurt, and the papers came through to come to the United States. Miraculously, the Nazis allowed my grandfather to go to the United States. They came with $10 a person and a place setting, and they moved to the United States.
Wow. So your father lived in Germany during the Nazi regime, which came into power in 1933. And he left in 1937, correct?
Correct.
So they had to endure the anti-Jewish laws that were passed, and there were hundreds of them that were passed that segregated Jews from other German citizens.
Oh.
The Jewish community was an integral part of the German society. I mean, they were generals in the army, they were doctors, they were judges. What were your grandparents doing in Germany at the time?
Just to back up, my father once told me in 1932, when Hitler ran for chancellor, that his platform was the problem with the German society are the Jews, the gypsies, and the gays. And once we get rid of them, we'll have a better society. And everybody said, he's not really going to do that. You know, it's just rhetoric.
It's just talk, yeah, rhetoric.
Yeah, and guess what? Yeah, he took it seriously.
He got into power.
My grandfather in Pirmasens was a cattle broker. Very wealthy guy. He traded cows. He sold cows to butchers, the whole cow. And that was his job. And that was taken away from him. On my mother's side, my grandfather worked in, he had a dry goods store in this little town called Battenberg, which is north of Frankfurt. And they had a good life. They lived well. They had people, they had people take care of their homes. They had help. They lived very well. But then everything came apart.
They just took it away from them because Jews had no civil rights and then no human rights, meaning they couldn't own anything. They couldn't do whatever they wanted, go freely wherever they wanted to go. It was pretty bad. And it's a good thing that your dad left before World War II began. Then it really got bad. So you grew up in Brooklyn, like I did. We have parallel lives, right? My parents had Holocaust friends, Holocaust survivor friends, and we would meet them, in the Catskills in the summers. That's where they all congregated. But they also congregated in the local communities, in the synagogues, at parties, things like that. And the food that they ate was not of my liking. They had a lot of fish food, but, smoked fish food. Some of it was okay. They liked the herring, they had the chulent, they had the kishka, they had the chopped liver, the stuffed cabbage, the pacha. What was life like for you as a kid? I remember I had to eat this stuff because my mom made it for my dad, so I had to eat it too. What kind of a diet
interesting
were
question.
You raised on?
So my father, when he came here in 1937, he needed a job. He was 16 years old, couldn't go to school past 16 years old, and he got a job sweeping the floor in the bakery on Avenue J in Brooklyn. And he worked there being the person that cleaned up because he had no skills. He was 16 years old. And he stayed there till 1941, where he enlisted in the Army. And he became a Ritchie Boy.
Oh, he was a Ritchie Boy.
He was a Ritchie Boy, my dad, where the Army took bright, young, German Jewish men and trained them to be interrogators.
Right.
And they were part of intelligence. He was trained as a Ritchie Boy, which actually was the precursor for the CIA. They trained them, they interrogated the Germans, and they say that 65% of the war, the intelligence they got, made them win World War II.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he met some amazing people there. He had some friends there. Never really talked about what he actually saw in Germany. I know he was in the Battle of the Bulge, and they thought they weren't going to make it through there. Reading about him, which he never spoke about it, for two reasons. First of all, it must have been very traumatic. And it was not allowed to, it was classified until 1985. So either he wasn't allowed to talk about it or he didn't want to talk about it. But reading about the Ritchie Boys, they never tortured their people. They never tortured them. They bribed them with cigarettes and food. But if they didn't get answers, they would say, we're going to hand you over to the Russians. You better talk.
Right. They were afraid of the Russians.
And they spoke like canaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was there till 1945.
And he was selected because he spoke German.
He spoke German, and he was an intelligent man, even though he never had a formal education. And that's where he was for those 4 years.
Oh, God bless him.
Yeah.
Wow, he did some great things.
And I never knew my dad was a war hero.
Wow.
And words had.
When did you find out?
I knew he was a Ritchie Boy, it was named after Fort Ritchie in Maryland. That's where they got Ritchie Boys.
And when did you realize that was significant?
After he passed away.
After he passed
away.
Isn't that funny? Again, with the parallelism, I found out more about my dad's story after he passed away than when he was alive.
Yeah. And there were books and videos, and then some of the old Ritchie Boys came out and was talking about what they did. So they did some incredible things. Supposedly they were at Normandy. They liberated some of the concentration camps, which, again, my dad never spoke about. And, I'm really proud of my dad.
You should be.
And he actually got a few years ago, we got an Elie Wiesel Medal of Freedom that were presented to the Ritchie Boys. And it really made me feel proud. And unfortunately, I never knew this while he was still alive.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So getting back to the Brooklyn upbringing, or rearing, as they call it, I don't know if they use that term anymore.
No.
'Cause I don't think they rear anymore.
Yeah.
But we used to get reared.
Yeah. Reared.
I mean, this is the kind of food I ate.
Yeah.
I used to sneak out of the house and eat at Mrs. Russo's house, and because she made incredible pasta and
Yeah.
meatballs like you can't imagine. But I wasn't crazy about that food. What kind of food did your mom make?
Well, they were German again, so
Right.
it wasn't more of that Eastern European.
Right,
And,
okay.
they really tried to be more Americanized.
They did.
Yeah, they didn't want us to. We never learned German
Right.
because they wanted to remove themselves from being Germans.
I understand.
So we never spoke German. My grandparents did. My parents spoke to my grandparents through German, but we really didn't learn German. The food, they were very involved in the synagogue.
Right.
When they moved to Brooklyn, they didn't know anyone. So they joined the synagogue, and that was their whole social outlet, was the synagogue. They made lots of good friends. And most of them were not immigrants. Most of them were American-born or first-generation American. So they had a really diverse group of friends.
Right.
And they were very involved. And it wasn't more of a religious thing. It was more of a social gathering. That was it. And we went to synagogue every Saturday. My father wanted, even though he worked Saturdays, he was a baker. And Friday night services he loved to go to. And again, it was almost more of a social thing. And being Jewish, there's two aspects of it: the religious and also we're a people.
Right.
And I think I have more of a association of being the people than the religious side.
Understood. Yeah. I think a lot of us who grew up in that era are like that, less religious, more contemporary, trying to assimilate to the American culture, right?
Correct.
And I guess that's what your parents were trying to do.
Yeah.
So your parents were a little different than my parents. My parents tried to retain that European culture, that Polish culture that they knew so very well, which they maintained when they lived in Israel and brought it to the United States. So that's the kind of food I kind of grew up on. But I think over time, my mother, she panicked because she realized I wasn't eating, the chopped liver. So she ran out and she got shake and bake. This was a new invention. So my brother and I were raised on pretty much shake and bake and Twinkies.
Yeah.
But life was good, right?
Oh, life was great. We had a great time.
What values do you think that they tried to impart with you?
Family.
Right?
We were family. And it was an extended family, okay? Our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, because we were small. How many people didn't make it? So the family who had our aunts and uncles, our cousins.
That was important.
And also we were very traditional, okay? I won't say we were religious, but we had every Passover Seder. We went to shul during the high holidays. We celebrated our Jewishness. And we did, some things, a lot of things with the synagogue. But again, it was more about being a Jewish people.
Right, I understand. The nation, that's somewhat has been resilient for thousands of years, even though they tried to kill this nation from so many different angles over so many centuries, yet it survived.
Well, that really amazes me about our people. And if you look at the holidays, Hanukkah, it's about trying to destroy us. Purim, trying to destroy us. Passover, trying to destroy us. And then you go further and you go to the pogroms in Russia, the Crusades. You go to the Spanish Inquisition.
Right.
And just recently, October 7th, where
it can be destroyed,
they
apparently.
tried to destroy us, and we've remained resilient as a people.
Resilient and also contributing to society. I mean, there are some people who would love to see the Jewish nation completely obliterated. You'd have to get rid of Billy Joel. You'd have to get rid of all of the lessons from Albert Einstein. And the list goes on and on and on, from fashion, right, to entertainment, to science, to medicine, to technology.
Well, the one that really stands out, you mentioned that, people say we control Hollywood. That's not true. We invented Hollywood. There was no Hollywood until Mayer and all these guys, because they couldn't get regular jobs. They couldn't go to medical school. They couldn't go to law school. So they invented something.
Isn't that amazing? And why couldn't they go to these schools? Because?
Anti-Semitism.
That's right. It was here. It was prevalent here too.
Yeah. Oh, very. I think you experienced it too in the neighborhood we grew up in.
To some degree. I don't remember a lot of it, but I certainly got the essence of it. You know, I sensed that there was some kind of animosity, even jealousy, to some degree.
Yeah, no, well, I experienced a lot of it where I grew up. I grew up being called all sorts of anti-Semitic names. I was beat up because I was Jewish. The guys would stand outside Hebrew school, throw rocks at us. Wow. There was a lot of bad
that
anti-Semitism.
I didn't experience, honestly.
Yeah.
I did not. But
Yeah.
I did get into fights.
Yeah. I was jumped by 14 guys once.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of, which made me hate.
Right.
I really despise hate of any sort.
Right.
Be it against racial, women, any type of race. I have no tolerance to it.
Isn't that amazing that a lot of the survivors that we talked to, including my dad and mom, came out very kind and generous human beings as a result of the hate against them?
Yeah.
Because they understand and appreciate, just like you said, you know what life is really all about. It's not about hate. We're all related. Why can't we all get along? What's the deal here? And they became, they really tried to pass on these values to us, but also taught us to be grateful to every little thing we had, because it was all taken away from them. And they taught us a lesson that, things can be taken away from you just like that. You have to be aware. You have to be kind to others and all of that.
Yeah. We see how fragile it is.
Society is very fragile.
They lived in an environment where they lived well, as different to the Eastern Europeans. They didn't live that well. They lived on the shtetl. Mm-hmm. But my parents were upper middle class people, and they had a good life. And it was all taken away. And they came here, and it's what's really amazing, after one generation, I have a full entitled life. And I think about that a lot, how what they endured and what they were able to give us. But the one thing about my parents, and I know about you too, was education. Mm-hmm. That was their primary concern. You're going to college. And it wasn't even like, which college? You're just going to college. And it was like brushing your teeth. It was a given. And education was everything to them.
Because they wanted us to have a secure life, right? They wanted us to become successful people so that we, we'll have not just a successful career and a successful life, but we'll have money and we'll have the ability to have a family and provide for our family, right? They wanted us to succeed in life. That's the bottom line. And education, apparently, to them was very important. It still is, to some degree. There are people who don't get an education but somehow manage to figure out a way how to become successful. Whatever the method is, they wanted to make sure that we had successful careers.
Yeah. There was a very famous quote of Jack Lane. Always said, "Don't teach your children, show your children."
Ah, beautiful.
And they showed us. It wasn't lectures.
Right.
It was, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way we're going to be. We're going to be kind to other people. We're going to treat people well. Doesn't matter if they work for you or who they are. Everybody's equal. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm very proud of my practice, I have probably the most diverse practice of all different races, ethnicities, and we're all together.
Right.
We're all one. And that's such an important message, and we're not seeing that.
So I've done my own research about genetic research, and on many of the genetic sites, they're all showing charts now that we all converge, that the lineage converges to one woman somewhere in Eastern Africa 200,000 years ago. She was the original mother of humanity. If she was around today, she'd be very disappointed, let's be honest, right? That's a little Jewish guilt there. But she'd be very disappointed in her children. Every person you bump into on this planet is somewhere between your 15th and 50th cousin.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. If you just wake them up to that fact and realize that we're not different races, we're one race, we're one family.
Yeah. Well, I just returned. I went on a trip. Mm-hmm. And something I've been planning for a while, that we actually went back to Germany. Mm-hmm. We went to my mother's hometown and my father's hometown. And it's been a life-changing experience. We were welcomed by these people. They took us to our parents' homes. They took us to the cemeteries that were desecrated by the Hitler Youth, and they've restored them. They've put these plaques in front of anyone's house that got killed by the Nazis in the concentration camps called Stapelsteine, or stumbling blocks. And they're like 4-inch brass plaques. And on the plaque, it has the name of the people that lived in these homes, when they were deported, and where they were murdered, which concentration camp. Fully acknowledging the atrocities.
They've really gone out of their way in Germany to do this.
They even wrote laws against anti-Semitism.
Right.
I mean, they do have a bunch of skinheads and anti-Semites, but the government is really fighting to keep them off the agenda. They had dinners for us. The mayors of the towns, the villages met us and welcomed us back. And I actually, in my family, so 8 of my family went. Some of me and my sons, my brother and his children, and it was just a life-changing experience. And then in my father's town, we went back to the village, and they met us, and actually they showed us a family tree dating back to 8 generations of Dreyfuses. It just blew my mind. And the warmth and the caring of these atrocities just overwhelmed me. And I see how they acknowledge the atrocities. Some things you don't see that much in this country. We don't really acknowledge the atrocities of the past. We kind of gloss over them. So it was really a life-changing experience, and for me and my family.
I'm glad you took that trip, that journey to go back in time and learn about your family. It's so important that people really should look into their past, no matter where they come from, and who their parents are and grandparents are. But we tell young people all the time, learn about your heritage.
Yeah.
Find out what your grandparents went through to survive. You never know, what you'll uncover. But it's so important to document your past.
And to learn about it from people that lived there. And it's really, really strange that they lived there so well for centuries.
Right.
Then all of a sudden there was this...
It was uprooted so fast.
This one period of time.
Right.
And they survived. Well, the ones that did survive, unfortunately, a lot didn't survive. I mean, 6 million were systemically murdered.
Right.
For the final solution.
Yeah.
So we were the lucky ones, real fortunate. Not many were.
Yeah. Wow. You're looking great. I'm very happy for you. I'm proud of you. You're still practicing. I retired a long time ago.
I see you keep busy. you find things to do.
I do. I have what they call in Yiddish spilkes.
Yes, you have spilkes.
Ants in the pants. I got to keep moving. I can't stay still.
Right.
If I stay still, it's because I'm in front of a computer doing some editing of videos. That's the only time I actually stay still. Otherwise, you have to beat me with a stick to make me sit down. But it was so great to have you here. It's so heartwarming to reconnect with you.
I feel very fortunate I have a profession where I help people.
Yes.
And it's a very rewarding thing. Taking people out of pain. It's just a fantastic, and I want to keep going, and I will.
Keep going until you can't do it anymore.
Right.
God bless
Or they don't
you.
want me doing it anymore.
Well, God bless you. God bless your family. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing these personal stories with us. This is so important to memorialize their stories and to document it and let people know that even today we have a very fragile society. It can go sideways very quickly. Be aware. Don't pass on hate. Stop the hate. And just spread the love, because we're all connected.
And Bernie, I thank you for keeping our story alive, because the story has to be told to our neighbors, our friends, our children, because this is our history. And like you said, history repeats itself, and maybe one day we'll learn from history.
Maybe. That's why we keep teaching it, because we're not going to give up. So if you're looking for an incredible chiropractor in Brooklyn, New York, from the neighborhood that I grew up in, Dr. Leslie Dreifus, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Bernie.
This was a robust discussion. I think we covered a lot of things, and I appreciate your time. And I thank all of our listeners today for joining us here at HMTV. I'm your host, Bernie Furshpan. Until next time.